Hey, what's up, Willie?
What up, DJen?
Hey, man, with another new episode, and we got more car news. I mean, we talked about was it before Honda might be asking to bail out. I mean, merge with Nissan, and
Honda, you gotta say it like Jesse from the movie that fucked it all up for everybody.
yeah, but unlike him, I'm still alive, so
Oh,
he ain't saying much.
oh.
His character ain't saying much now, but yeah,
Too
from
soon, Junior.
uh that movie could be like 50 years old, and we're still going to be quoting it in the retirement home. But
Yeah, because we'll be old men filled with regret, waiting to die alone.
oh man, fair enough. But yeah, man, what do you think, man? So Nissan, they have some reservations apparently with joining
Yeah.
the ranks of Honda. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so for those who are not aware, have been living under a rock for since 1965. Nissan have done a wonderful job of building complete and utter shit for decades. And while I respect the Ultima, the token car of single mother and nurses everywhere, uh, the simple fact is that most of the product has been utter shit. And Honda, we talked about this previously last time that Honda and Nissan were looking at a merger or a merger of alleged equals. So I guess Nissan will be merging with Honda's dumpsters. Uh, but uh, but Honda kind of, and the reasons for that, we have our own conspiracy theories about whether or not the Japanese government want
Right.
Nissan IP to fall into the hands of the Chinese, because if a Japanese company doesn't buy them, you know, the Chinese are probably going to be next in line. So Honda, in a fit of, I'm just going to be honest, like very unstereotypically Japanese directness, came out and said to Nissan, "We're going to offer you 58. The merger is 58 billion, but you're going to be a wholly owned subsidiary. So you have Nissan being completely absorbed by a company that actually knows how to build cars." And apparently, Nissan were offended by this. They were taken aback because previously the merger of equals approach would have let Nissan keep its branding, keep its, well, it wouldn't kept its IP anyway. They could say it's Nissan IP, but I guarantee you Honda would have required that to be transferred or licensed free of charge, or however it is that the lawyers want to earn their fees. So now Nissan are kind of in a corner because Honda basically said take it or leave it. Which is funny because take it or leave it is what Nissan has told customers for the past 30 years when they're looking to buy a car. Like I
Uh,
had hope for the 350 Z or Z, depending on what part of the world you're listening to this. But one good car does not an entire company make.
no.
It doesn't work for the exotics. It doesn't work for the hypercars. It doesn't even work for Ford. So I don't know what happens behind closed doors because I'm not involved in the merger. But I have dealt with uh, Japanese business people, at least from the old country, enough to know that a lot of what you see on TV, especially like the episode of Mad Men, uh, which that was one of the few that I watched and I loved it. A lot of what you see is very, very true with how the Japanese tend to do business. Notice the qualifying that I'm doing so we don't get fucking canceled or something. Like, yeah, they are very proper. They are not, for Honda to be this direct. I mean, somebody had to piss them off, and I'm all about it. I hope Nissan refuse the deal. I hope they fall into the ground and fade into obscurity. Bury them next to AMG or AMC.
Well, it's funny for viewers who don't know. The first time I remember hearing the merger of equals line was Chrysler and Mercedes, right? Daimler.
Yeah, Daimler Chrysler that gave us the Crossfire of all fucking things, and the what was that stupid little Merc 2-door drop top? It wasn't a CLA. It was some shitbag. One of my ex's moms
Was it
had
the
one.
SLK?
I think it was the SLK, but it was
Yeah.
like one of the first cars, one of the first two cars that they released domestic was the Chrysler Crossfire, and then the Mercedes Model TBD. I think it's the SLK. Both of which were just unequivocal piles of shit.
I want to
On our list from the last episode.
I know it was a dishonorable mention. I want to I don't know if you've already looked at it this way, but if our listeners, like all 5 of our listeners, haven't already done so, I want them to do something for me. I want them to Google like a side profile of the Crossfire, and I'm pretty sure it's the Crossfire. Take a good look at it, and now picture a dog taking a shit because they look the same.
Yeah, but dogs taking a shit is something necessary. The Crossfire
It's
was not necessary.
right. Doesn't the profile of that car look like a dog pinching a loaf? I'm just saying. Once you see it, you never
And the
unsee it.
adaptive spoiler. Is it with the spoiler up or down? I think up is the tail of the dog. What is taking a deuce?
Oh man. But yeah, once you see it, you don't unsee it. So that's my gift to the world right there. Just like you and your the flat wheel arches.
The wheel arch flat.
Freaking A. You know, when I, because I know you had sent me the story about Nissan being a bunch of wussies and just not wanting to be a part of Honda and all that. You know what I immediately thought of? I immediately thought of was it the movie Too Big to Fail? And there's that scene, the scene where Buffett offers what is it, like 26 a share or something like that to bail Lehman Brothers out.
Something like that out.
And Dick Fold thinks, no, that's an insult. We were trading at 72 last year or something like that.
Yeah.
But
you're going to trade 0 tomorrow.
And Nissan should learn a lesson from Lehman Brothers. But at least Lehman Brothers was once like a really, really respectable trading house. Whereas Nissan, I mean, let's be real. Nissan was never top tier. Like, you bought it because maybe they had one vehicle a year that was like good, like that you can think of. Like, I remember just little things. Like, I remember, like, for example, when the Nissan, what was it, the Titan pickup truck, when it first came out, it was pretty good. They didn't have a big pickup truck, and
I was actually looking at that.
Same.
Yeah, back when gas was $250.
Yeah,
for premium.
Now, in fairness, I wasn't actually looking to buy it. I went to drive it at the Mission Hills Nissan just so I could get a free fire extinguisher. That was when they used to give away. They used to give away these little deals. Like, that's why I got that Mitsubishi soundtrack for test driving the old Lancers and all that, the Outlanders. Remember the little CD they used to do that Dave Chappelle spoofed so well in his Chappelle show. But yeah, I had that awesome CD. It was a relic of the times for sure. But hey,
much like the Chappelle show.
Yeah, hey, man, Chappelle is timeless. But yeah,
that's true.
But yeah, that Nissan Titan was pretty good. Never mind the fact that later that and the Armada, I think, had like some suspension issues in the rear, but whatever. The best example, I think, where they were just they were on top of the world. We talked about before the few times we said it's something nice with Nissan, the VQ35 engine when it debuted 25 years ago or so and I think Carlos Ghosn was actually running it, and he's known for his cost cutting and all that. However, that's an example where it worked because he put a variant of that engine in like almost every freaking car they had, certainly every V6, right? Like from the Murano SUV to like the Ultima Maxima Z. Now, again, variations, varying levels of tune, to be fair. But Infiniti used the same engine. I think I mentioned before, my mom's first like foray to like luxury cars was on my advice. I said, just get the G35 when it won car of the year. And she got the all-wheel drive version, and it was amazing. It was great. And the problem is, if you drove that today, and then you drove a present day Infinity, you'd be like, where's the leap, right? Where's the jump in engineering and all that?
It's
There
like the
isn't one.
Office meme or the was it Pam or whatever, like
Yeah,
corporate needs you to find the difference between these two pictures.
it's
They're
the
the same
same car.
picture. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the same car.
that's the problem, man. That's the issue I have with it. And whereas every other Japanese manufacturer, for the most part, with the exception of Mitsubishi, who's even in a worse situation, um, they've all made advancements. I mean,
Mitsubishi, for those keeping score, I just read this today that their profit forecast for next year or this year, whatever their next fiscal, I think they slashed it by 70% or something like that. So if the Honda Nissan deal goes to shit, maybe Honda can buy Mitsubishi next year on the cheap.
I would have figured that the vending machines at Mitsubishi dealerships make more profit than actual Mitsubishi
That's
cars.
the 30% profit that they
Yeah,
haven't slashed. It's the vending machines.
man. Yeah, come on, not gonna lie. You put those Twix bars and all that in there, woo, they'll sell more than like an Outlander. I'll tell you that much. And unlike the Outlanders, you don't need a $5,000 rebate for it. So yeah, I think no, Mitsubishi's in trouble, man. They are in deep trouble, man. But I don't know. I think maybe the
Maybe
thing
they
with
can
them.
merge with Jaguar.
Oh man,
Well, I mean, it makes perfect sense. You know, Jaguar are not building cars for an entire year. Nissan haven't built a decent car for an entire generation. There's a lot of synergies there.
well, you know what? Mitsubishi merges with Jaguar. I'm gonna since you brought it up that same episode of Mad Men. I'll paraphrase Roger Sterling. Hey, join Jaguar and Mitsubishi. Leave Mitsubishi alone long enough, maybe it'll kill itself. So yeah,
That seems to be what's happening.
it'll go the way of the Mitsubishi Zeros. You know, uh, yeah, no,
Too soon, I think.
I I don't know how inclusive is Japan. I don't know if it's gonna fit too well with their cultural norms there. I don't know.
No, it will not. Maybe with like the Harajuku crowd, but that's gonna be it.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. But yeah, Nissan, just standing on their pride like that. That's a hard pill to swallow, man, because it's like you're choosing. Okay, you got to imagine if you're one of the line level employees that's in danger of losing her job, and the higher ups are just like, nope, we're gonna be stubborn, or we're gonna pretend it's like you said, like the '60s, and we have a name. No, man, no, you can't do that. And
Well, in the
so
'60s, they actually had a car.
yeah,
Yeah, the Hakoska. They actually had pedigree. They had some racing victories. I mean, the VQ35 I think was probably a good accomplishment. But what was that Group C monstrosity that Nissan built? It was like the R390 or something like that. It was
oh
like
yeah,
a tiny little biturbo V8. They had like 900 fucking horsepower or something like that. Like all of Group C had to be outlawed because the cars would swallow their drivers whole. Like
yeah.
these things were absolute man eaters. But okay, well, so two cars does not an entire company make.
Because was that the one? God, we're going back like 20 fucking years here, but you sent me one. Was it the RG90 or something like that, where they literally made like one or something like street versions.
Yeah.
Just
Okay. So I got the wiki page open here. Yeah, the R390 GT1 was a Le Mans car, 97, 98. So yeah, they would have had homologation requirements, and I think they built like one uh, road going version to say it
yeah,
was a production car, the biggest fucking air quotes ever.
because I remember, I don't know if you remember this, because I was writing a screenplay at the time, and I said, Willie, I described the character, and I said, I need him to have a car that absolutely nobody else has, and I need
Yeah,
it to be a Japanese car. And you literally gave me the car with only one. There's only one of.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
According, it's at the Nismo Zama warehouse, along with the number 32 race car from '98.
There you go.
So there you go. Maybe they can sell that to Honda too.
Yeah. I mean, people got to remember, see, I think for young people who might be like reading history and like they remember Well, now it feels like ancient history, but we talk about the golden era of car tuning and like the GTRs, you know, the
Yeah.
R32, R33, R34, and all that. Here's the problem that maybe for some people they don't understand. When you sell a used car, Nissan doesn't make money. Just like when you buy a used game at GameStop, the designer doesn't make that money. Okay,
Yeah.
so you think of the time when the drift scene was huge and all those people were buying them. The what was it? What the fuck was that in the U.S.? Not we Sylvia.
Yeah, the 240.
240. Nissan wasn't making money off that, and they certainly weren't making money off the engine swaps, right? Look, we all know that SR20s pull a premium 1 week before race wars, but Nissan was not making no money off of refurb engines, okay? So get rid of any notion that like, oh, well, it was big in the tuning community. It's like, but was it big when the car was purchased brand new? No. You say?
Right.
I guess so. A lot of this is like on sentiment. People remember Nissan being really, really great. It's all on sentiment. It's not on actuality, right? And so now that I've told people that, if you still think that, then you're a freaking idiot, and you cannot say you weren't warned. Whereas Honda has always had their finger on the pulse of import car tuning. They've always had it. In fact, one could say, at least in the U.S. anyway, right? They were synonymous with it. There'd always be some guy in a B16, B18, whatever, right? It'd always be an Integra, a Civic, right? But it would be one of those.
In the RSX, they had the original JDM Type R wing on the RSX, if I remember right. That was one of the big things that Honda, one of their reps, shut everyone up at a debut when like one of the moto journalists fucking scrubs. It's like, well, what about the wing? And everyone's like chattering, and then the Honda rep's like, oh, that's the wing from the Japanese market Type R, and it was just like crickets in the entire crowd. Like everyone just shut the hell up. They didn't have shit to say after that.
Yeah. No, and I mean, like with very few exceptions, Honda's never really struck out. I mean, there have been a couple cars where you might say they're average, but you'd say that only right, or like there was that one Honda Civic Si. I remember, like in the early 2000s,
the chicken drumstick shifter.
You already knew. You already knew what I was saying. I was going to say.
You didn't know if you wanted to roll gears or pour gravy on that fucking thing.
Oh man, not a great car. Did not look great.
No.
Performance was all right, but like that was one of the rare things where like even though it wasn't great, if Nissan put that out, people would be singing their praises because the standard is higher with Honda, I think, right? And Honda knows what they are. They're high revving engines. In the past, it was known for non-turbo, high revving, high horsepower, low torque. So you knew what you were getting, right? Just like Toyota, Toyota doesn't make exciting cars. They make reliable, everyday cars that anybody can get into, drive, and not feel like they lost out. Like they had to settle for a cheap car, you know? That's how I feel. Nissan, I don't know their identity, dude. What is their I don't know their slogan. I don't know. At least Toyota, people joke about Toyotathon being like an unofficial holiday, right? And all that. I don't know.
Shark Week is a holiday. Toyotathon is a holiday. Nissan's slogan is, "Hey, at least we're not Kia."
Well, I see. Here's the thing, though, and I praise Kia quite a bit just because they know who they are. They're not pretentious about what they are, and at least I got to give them credit for trying to achieve. They'll take that lost leader. We've talked about, remember the Kia Stinger, really good car. I feel like they modeled it after like the BMW 4 Series, if you really think about it, like the Grand Coupe, like mine, with the tailgate, what do you call it, like rear wheel drive, high horsepower, but they have like the higher horsepower, the lower horsepower, but they're both good, they're both quick. Interior is very German designed and everything like that. Nobody I know who drove one ever said like they regretted that purchase. The only downside was overpriced, right? But And I'm sure it lost money. However,
Mhm.
at least they're trying, because they could have pulled a Mitsubishi and just said, "Nah, we're just going to make boring, affordable cars." But they aspire to be more, which I got to give them credit for that, man, because you
Their
make it.
reach exceeds their grasp.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I've never felt they were pretentious. If I ever got a Kia as like a loaner car or whatever, I knew what I was getting, but it would actually exceed my expectations, because I was like thinking, oh well, it's gonna be like a cheap car, like the old Hyundai. Was it the Scoop back in the day? Excel, Hyundai Excel.
Oh God.
Oh,
Yeah, the
was
Excel.
that was awful. That was awful, man.
Yeah.
My sister in law had one of those, and even she like was saying it was a piece of crap, you know. And back then it was that or like a bike. You know, I think she would have rather have a bike. But yeah, but
Who made the Tercel? Was that another Hyundai car? That was another uh just
that that is a good
bland. No, that was a
question.
Toyota. Sorry, not a Hyundai. Hard to tell. They were fucking ugly. But yeah, that was another just bland pedestrian. That was the automotive equivalent of a bowl of gruel.
So no nutritional value or anything.
No, like you couldn't drive that unless you were an orphan.
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah. So but in fairness, for what it was, the Tercel, I mean, it was in keeping with Toyota, because my brother had a Tercel, an old ass Tercel. Never, but it didn't. It was reliable for what it was. I mean, it didn't break down.
Yeah.
It would never get a second look. Right? It's like the girl you see in high school that's like a 6. Right? You don't regret getting with her. You just, it'd be like that meme where the guy's like looking when a better looking girl walks by or something like that. But
Yeah.
but you wouldn't say that like she's like horrible or what. She's not like a 4, right? So she's not like a Geo Metro. So
Oh
yeah,
my God.
but I will say,
The first 3-cylinder, the first car I ever saw that I knew or that I learned was 3 cylinders. I didn't think that was possible,
uh-huh.
but
Yeah. Yeah,
leave
it's
it
like
to a company like Geo to never disappoint.
that's like a man with one kidney. So yeah. I was gonna say one something else, but I don't want to offend anybody now.
No, it's okay. I think for the next 4 years, we're all going to be uncancelable.
I don't want I don't want to offend Robert Paulson. So yeah. But no, yeah, I don't know, man. I like you said with Nissan, because without a Honda merger, what recourse do they have then, economically, financially?
Well,
What
they're
recourse do
gonna
they
they're gonna wither on the vine and die, and all the people that you mentioned, that are pissed off with the suits, 'cause that's the thing. Like people see these failures and they just look at the C-suite and the corner office folks, and I don't mean the corner office folks like Sean Connery says in the movie Rising Sun, where they just they're forced to stare out an office window and do nothing. Most of the workaday Joes and Janes, are probably pissed off, and thanks to this stupid decision, they're probably going to Nissan will probably end up getting bought out by like BYD or something, and they'll end up, doing support work for some shitty Chinese electric vehicle. Although, to BYD's credit, uh, they do have an upper tier partial hybrid electric, whatever. They do have an upper tier sedan called the Destroyer. So it's like, maybe it's not all bad. I think it's only going to destroy your dignity if you're caught driving it.
I
But that's kind of a cool name.
I would be curious as to what the market cap for Nissan is, um, and and if it would be worthwhile for someone to acquire them just to get the Skyline GTR nameplate. You know, I,
Yeah, that'd be cool. I honestly, if I just had like Bobby Axelrod fuck you money, I would consider it. I mean, I would obviously make it an American company, because I'm not commuting from the U.S. to Japan. Fuck that. But no, I'd be interested in doing that. But I would probably turn it into like a Japanese Koenigsegg, right? Like just it's just boutique hypercars, like here's the Agera, here's the Jesco, here's the what was it, the CC8R or something, the first one they came out with 1,000
Yeah.
horsepower and it ran on E85, like some shit like that. Like that would be what I would do, because the people who are obsessed with the Nismo heritage, which ended and peaked in 1969. I'm sure they'd probably line up and pay good money for that if they had it. And if not, well, again, I did say that in this scenario I had fuck you money. So I personally wouldn't care if a single car sold. I would just use that investment as a tax shield to protect myself
Now
from
let me ask you.
endeavors that are actually making money.
Let me ask you. What is your level of certainty?
I am not uncertain.
You are.
As for what Nissan's market cap is, I was in the scene from Game of Thrones where
Oh no.
Tywin asks Cersei, like, how much gold do you think is left in the rock? And she says, I don't know, tons or whatever, years, months. She says, it doesn't matter. The answer's the same, as
Right.
in as in zero. That's what I think Nissan's market cap is going to be here pretty soon.
You bring up a really good point though about like the Koenigsegg comparison and things like that. You know what? This might actually make that car more exotic then, because
What's
I mean,
that?
if you make Nissan like this, or like this sort of boutique kind of brand, where because now you don't have to associate it with like an Ultima, a Versa, and all that anymore. It's
Oh
just
God,
its
no.
own thing, right?
Yes.
And so it's not bogged down. It's like being the best player on a shitty team. Like you're the Barry Sanders of the Detroit Lions back in the 90s, right? Where every year the team is going to suck, but he's going to get 2,000 yards or something, right? He's going to
Right.
break.
And he's not going to murder his wife.
Oh man!
Allegedly.
Tu- tu-
Allegedly.
Tune in next week, folks, for our new podcast, Men and Murder. Yeah. Uh,
It's going to be our first cast. I wonder.
wait,
Get the Ouija board from Spirit Halloween. We can ask OJ himself.
wait. Did you say Luigi board? But yeah.
Oh.
Hold on. We have to say, for legal purposes, alleged. He was found not guilty with a jury of his peers. So yeah. So we have to say that. But yeah.
Well, he's not going to sue us from beyond the grave. So.
But the man who single-handedly popularized the Ford Bronco. But yeah.
Yep.
No. No. I don't know, man. Yeah. With Nissan, I think it also shows that. And I know people are probably going to disagree with me, although the people who would disagree with me now would have agreed with me 5 years ago. But Tesla kind of proved you don't need a historic nameplate to do well. Of course, I say that because the people who
you don't have to build a good car.
Yeah, no, I mean, because I know people hate Elon now, but those same ones loved him 5 years ago when he was, saying other stuff.
He was just quirky.
Yeah, when people thought they were saving the environment, right?
Yeah.
But now, But anywho, yeah. I mean, if you've got a vehicle that resonates with people, and you have like the discipline, because you got to give it to that guy. I remember like driving to like the mall, like Woodland Hills and all that, and I see these empty Tesla chargers, and I'm like, nobody's using them. Now, 10 years later, there's a line for those things. See, and so I gotta give him his credit, man. He saw the future, and what a shit future it was. But
oh God, yeah.
He saw it, and he did something about it. So
yes.
And maybe now we'll be all on Mars soon. We'll get our asses to Mars. But
I gotta hand it to Timu Tony Stark over here. Like, I would not have levers, because what he made some coin with PayPal, and then he levers that with into SpaceX, right? And he was like back to sleeping on friends' couches or whatever. And I think he levers again into Tesla. Like the dude has some giant stainless steel hairy ones. Like there's no doubt about that. But I just view it as, okay, well, if I'm gonna get a wild hair up my ass and start making cars, why wouldn't I make something good? Like the original Tesla Roadster, I actually liked.
Mm-hmm.
I was aware of the fact that it was electric. I wasn't that naive. I actually thought it was cool. The Roadster Redux or whatever the fuck they called it. I don't think they ever released it, but it was like the $220,000 one that he launched into space. Or yeah, or maybe that was a first gen. I don't care. The point is that there was a second gen Roadster that at least one was built because you would see video of it, and this was before AI. So like I thought that was awesome. Like that's what I think electric vehicles and these other types of cars are good for. They can be status symbols, yeah, but they're one offs. They're examples of what you can do when you're given unlimited time and money. Like Koenigsegg, they're a manufacturer by European law. They meet the definition of an OEM, but they're not going to churn out 20 million cars a year like
Yeah.
Honda do and Ford. But who gives a shit? Like, look what they've done. Like they've completely revolutionized even things like throttle bodies. They've got 9-speed semi-automatic transmissions. Like, do you want to shift? Okay, well here's some mechanical widgetry, and now you can roll through gears like a real man, or you can just switch over and have the computer select your gear ratios for you. They have they call it the dihedral synchrohelix door. It's not a going. It's like out and like it rolls forward. Like that's fucking awesome.
I'm
You
gonna
know that.
I'm gonna pull a Soldier Boy. You just
Oh
made up
boy.
those words. But yeah, well, actually, you know what? Speaking of like electric and all that, let me ask you. I gotta ask you this because I know we're not big fans of full electric. But have you noticed some of these really really high horsepower cars from like across different manufacturers, including like Lamborghini, Mercedes, Ferrari? They're doing like these hybrid, like V8,
Yeah,
V12, whatever. Like, what are
yeah.
your thoughts
Lexus
on that?
started that. So
Right.
I think so. Obviously, the Prius out was the most famous hybrid, but I think
Yeah.
Lexus started that in the mid '90s with I think it was the LS, but it was marketed as like the hybrid. It's more environmentally friendly, whatever. In reality, they just shoved an electric motor up front for more power.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of cool. You know the fact is that electric motors do have advantages that a piston engine is just never going to have, like 100% torque from 0 RPM. That's pretty fucking cool. Maybe not if you have to buy new tires every 5,000 miles, but from a technological standpoint, it's kind of cool. Like I dig hybrids if done properly. I mean, Formula One now is they're technically hybrids. They've been hybrids for a few years now because they have the thermal hybrid system and then like the battery electric. It's not just an engine anymore. And I think stuff like that could be kind of cool if it's done properly. But the only applications for which it can be done properly, meaning it's exciting and actually fun to drive, would be for big trucks, right? For like tow assist or payload assist, things like that, or sports cars. Um, Everything in between. Well, I think what you're going to end up eventually seeing, and yes, part of this is emissions regulations, which are fucking idiotic. Uh, I think for most of it, what you're going to end up seeing is they're going to turn to hybrid to keep performance up without having to completely sacrifice the advantages of a gasoline engine. And that's sad because, yeah, at the end of the day, we talk a lot of shit about EVs, and by we, I mean me. Uh, but the simple fact is, A, I don't want to put any money in Elon's pocket, number one. But more importantly, I think the idea of having to plan my entire day around the hours that it will take to recharge my car is completely insulting. But I'm a huge fan of Toyota's work in hydrogen fuel cells, which is technically an electric vehicle. It does not have a combustion engine. The hydrogen fuel cells produce electricity, which is then used to drive the spinny things that make you go fast. Something like that, I think, would be pretty awesome because you don't have the disadvantages of a battery EV, but you still have the performance benefits. You can still make the car truly yours, because what people don't understand, if you've never tried tuning a car or rigging a throttle, like Jesus Christ, I used to have hair before I tried rigging a throttle. There's only so much you can do because internal combustion engines have mass, they have friction, they have inertia. Things with these properties take a lot of time to spool up and change speed and whatever. And then you add on a turbo or a supercharger, and you have different power dynamics to deal with. Electric motors also have inertia, but it's a hell of a lot more of a direct response. And software is a hell of a lot faster to change than mechanical components. So I think when the industry finally gives up on dinosaur juice, which I hope doesn't happen in my lifetime, I truly hope they embrace the hydrogen approach rather than battery electric, because it's the closest you're going to get to petrol or diesel without actually having a liquid fuel, right? Like I know that's like the 20-minute answer to a 5-second question.
Well, that is the question though. Is like, what is a viable resource? But also, I think you brought it before about infrastructure, and there's gas stations everywhere, right?
Yep. And again, to Elon's credit, he sunk money into those stupid superchargers for how many years? Oh, well over a decade.
But even as such, though, now, given how long it takes to charge a car,
yep.
Not counting like his chargers, I know they go for like 20 minutes to like 80% or whatever. But I mean, in my opinion, it just seems like the number of vehicles purchased at some point is going to outpace the number of chargers that are put out, right?
Absolutely.
Because I don't count those chargers where like you sit outside of a restaurant where like you can eat for like 2 hours, then you come back and your car is charged 3%, right? And I don't count that because that's like nothing, man. That's
you mean like I count the charge like the 350 kilowatt chargers, like real shit.
That's the equivalent.
Go ahead.
That little itty bitty charge is the equivalent of like you're halfway through a marathon and some guy gives you a Dixie cup full of warm water. Yeah, that's really going to help you a lot. You know what I mean? But so yeah,
I don't want warm water. I want a cup full of steroids. Or better yet, a ride to the finish line. Fuck running.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I don't see it, but maybe some wonder kid's gonna put together some amazing plan that's gonna electrify everything, and everything's gonna be perfect.
Well, it's just the thing you said about infrastructure. Gas stations don't really use that much electricity, at least not compared to 40 cars on jacked into 350 kilowatt chargers all at the same time. And for those for our 5 audience members who are living in California, how many fucking blackouts do you have just on an average hot summer day when everyone turns the AC on? Like, our electrical infrastructure fucking sucks. So it's like, okay, well, we're gonna mandate everyone have electric cars. What the fuck are you gonna do? Where are you gonna plug them in? They can't handle the load that the grid's already got. So now you're gonna have everything else on top of it.
Hold on, man. I'm not going to stand for this assassination of a California politician's character. Are you trying to say that my state here can't prepare for these kinds of catastrophes? That if something bad were to happen to California right now, we would not have the resources, that they would have had the foresight to have something in place to help us? Is that what you're trying to say?
Let me put it this way. One of my dear friends and mentors and colleagues got his house insurance dropped. His coverage dropped, even though he doesn't live anywhere near the fires. Never has, never will. And even though the insurance company themselves assessed his property and on a 5-point risk scale, they assigned it a 0, and they still dropped them. So, yeah, I am saying that my beautiful former state is being run into hell by a bunch of degenerate morons. And if any of them want to come off their high horse in Sacramento and throw some hands, my invite's open.
Oh my God, it's yeah, yeah. I mean, bring up a good point, man, because we're talking about how much discipline it would take the average person who has a job, has a schedule, has all that to be able to work his way or her way around charging the car fully and doing everything versus just going to a gas station at 2 minutes you're out, right? And so yeah, that's hard enough, and that's on the average consumer.
And
Imagine
that's
that.
if you have a dedicated parking spot for
Correct.
your car. You imagine parking, like, there's a lot of parts of Philly that you got to park on the street. Can you imagine the fucking riots that would break out
Ooh.
if somebody came back and, like, some jackass unplugged their car to charge their own? Like, this place would turn into L.A. when Daryl Gates was still chief of the LAPD. Like, they would dig that motherfucker up and, like, we need you to do the crash program in Philadelphia all over again.
Oh my God.
Was was it Donald Gleason, whatever that actor's name that played Jack Van Meter in the movie Dark Blue?
Yeah.
Like they would have that guy like declare open war.
Oh my God.
Charging stations.
Oh my God. You know, for anyone that's under the age of 40,
50.
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
look up Willie's references. Dark Blue
Oh
came
my
out
God, yeah.
and I think made Training Day look like a child's film.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And
So
that's the thing, like that was a fictionalized account of LAPD brass
yeah,
in the battle days. But holy shit, it wasn't that fictionalized.
no, 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 no. But yeah, you know, I don't know what you, man, but our last episode was fun with like the shit cars. Yes, I don't know about you. It took me a while to narrow it
Yeah.
down because there's so many.
There's so many.
Yes, it's
the blue ovals.
The yeah. I mean, the list was long and undistinguished, but you know, I know you and I talked about, you know, we ended the last episode with like just as the discussion of like, you know, something more positive, doing aspirational cars. But then I know you and I talked offline about like, man, why don't we like do some suggestions for listeners and just consumers who maybe they're not car people, because if they were, they'd already have an idea of what to get. But you know, to make it realistic, where we talked about maybe offering like each of us has 2 suggestions, but at a fixed price point.
Tesla Model 3.
yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. Cars for Target Practice is next episode, right?
yeah, exactly. And so, you know, what I know we talked about like categories like entry level, which, as sad as this is, under $30,000. Because I remember a time when 30 grand got you a really, really good car. Like,
Yeah, my Volkswagen Rabbit, I think I got out the door for 17. That was in 08.
My Evo 8, man, sticker price was 27 and change.
Yep.
Granted, it was a bit of a markup, but it wasn't to the point where like you'd be paying what guys pay now for a car of equivalent performance and all that. And so, yeah, so I think we talked about it would be 30,000, 50,000, was
100,000,
100,000, 150.
And if you have to ask, you can't afford it.
Exactly, exactly. Which we all hope to get into that category one day. But you know, once this channel takes off and we're bigger than Mr. Beast. But minus.
Well, we have to have Clarkson on at some point so he can punch one of us.
But yeah, man. So why don't we start off, man, like with entry level? So under 30,000.
Let's hit it.
Let's hit it. What do you got, man? What are your 2? and why?
All right. So first of all, I'm a little pissed off because for those who've been living under a rock since 2020, the median price of a new car is about 40K. So
Yeah.
finding anything under 30, you got slim pickings, and I don't mean the guy from Doctor Strangelove. Yet another movie you should look up. But so my two for sub 30. The Toyota Corolla hatchback, specifically the XSE. Yes, it's sex if you're dyslexic. And the Honda Accord, but specifically the LX model or the LX trim level, because Honda actually always have 3,000 different HX, EX, SX, LX, DX, like whatever the fuck. Like they never met a two-letter combination that they didn't like. And here's the thing: when you're looking for a sub 30 car, I'm making assumptions about you the buyer that I hope are accurate, and therefore I'm putting in more effort into that exercise than Nissan ever have. Never letting that go.
Nope.
uh, if you're looking for a sub 30K car, I'm going to go on a limb and say you're probably not a senior exec at Goldman Sachs. You're probably just starting out, or you're recovering from, I don't know, a bad divorce or whatever. You had to reinvent yourself. Whatever the situation is, or maybe you just don't want to spend a lot of fucking money on a car, which, as far as I'm concerned, is always an okay and justifiable standpoint. But you're probably wise to look at cars that have certain characteristics, right? And one of them is going to be reliability. Uh, really hard to beat Honda and Toyota for that. And the other thing that you're probably going to need is something that is all weather capable ish. Okay. You don't need something that's going to overland through 6 inches of snow, right? But you don't want something that's going to kill you when the roads get a little wet, or, you live in California and the sun goes down and everybody loses their goddamn minds. So these two cars I like. They're basically palette swaps. The Toyota's got a little bit higher gas mileage, a little lower power. It's also a hot hatch. If you've never owned a hatchback, they're fucking cool. If you don't think they're cool, then don't come back. We don't need you in the audience. Uh, kidding. Please come back. We need validation. I think hot hatches are cool. They're pretty flexible in terms of use, and the Rolly hatchback is sporty enough. These are both front wheel drive CVT slush boxes. They're going to be good enough when it gets rainy or a little slick. And honestly, at this point, if this is the car that you're looking for whatever life situations you have, then you need something that is just going to be hassle free, minimum maintenance, minimum bullshit. Again, with high reliability. And to be honest, a car like this, like one of these, you could probably keep for a long time. Like the Rolly and the Accord, these are easily 200,000 mile vehicles. Um, it's going to be good. It's going to do the job. They're boring. It's like let's not mince words. But if you don't want to spend more than 30K on a car, well, you're probably also boring, at least from an automotive standpoint. So
Matt,
it's okay. It'll match.
You gave the
We've all been there. It's okay.
if you're buying this, it's probably your first car, and you made a comment earlier about
Yeah.
you're probably not an exec at Goldman Sachs. You probably barely left your daddy's ball sack. So it's
Yeah. At this point in life, you need to be spending all your money on your investment portfolio or savings or something to build up wealth. You need a car that's going to be a good partner with you for the long term. It is almost impossible to fuck up with a Toyota or a Honda, but at least for this, you can get a good car for your money.
I agree. Yeah, and I took a different approach. The approach I took was more because I agree with you about the reliability part, but I also know that so I aimed it towards young people because they're more than likely going to be the ones buying entry-level cars. And again, I took like a mental health approach to this because some people call me a therapist.
What?
Young people need reassurances in life. They need to be told that, you know, if something breaks down, don't worry, you're taken care of. So the two cars I picked got the 100,000 mile warranty, and they definitely appeal to young people because of the looks and the way they drive. So first one is the Kia Forte GT, $25,615. That's for the GT model, and yes, Willie, it does come in a stick. So 201 horses, 27 miles per gallon city, 35 highway. That's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. Now, I once got a loaner car when my car was in the shop when some Yahoo ran into it when it was parked. And they gave me a Kia Forte. But this wasn't even the GT version. Now, of course, like most people, I was like, shit, you gave me a Kia. I was like, what, was a horse not available? But surprisingly, it was pretty good. I was like, it's what it needed to be. It didn't try to be fancy or anything like that. And ergonomics were fine. I mean, it was the sedan. And I was like, you know what? This is pretty good. Good fuel economy. It didn't have rip-roaring power, but I knew that. It was like maybe 140 horsepower, right? The GT version is the over 200, so that's pretty good. So
That's not bad.
Yeah, for what it is, and for the price point and the warranty. If you're a young person, you got it. Let's say you're a guy, okay? Because if you're a girl, it doesn't matter what you drive. If you're good looking and you can give a wink and a smile, you got a date. Doesn't matter. You just got to show up. A guy, on the other hand, is judged. Let's be real. We live in the real world, not this make believe Disney world where men are just like, you know, if you're a nice guy, you win. You don't. I'm sorry. That's just not how the world works. At
Nice
least,
guys finish in their hands.
nice guy be happy to finish at all. But like the GT version of the Kia, you know what? It actually looks pretty good. It definitely looks like it would belong in that subcompact category with import tuning, like the 2010s and all that. It looks all right. It looks all right. The fact that they seem to have really made it for young men, you know, again, inclusion of a stick really helps. So for that reason, I'm like, Kia Forte gets my okay. Now the second one, I had to go with a compact SUV because SUVs sell, man. They sell, but the problem is they mostly look like shit. Very few of them look really, really nice. I think the Hyundai Kona it looks good. I thought it looked good in the first generation because it just looked like the kind of car you take to the beach, man. That's what it looked like. It had a character that was cool. Second generation one looks really, really nice. But now this, I went just slightly above the 30,000 because the N-Line S version, which is the more high end version, that gives you the turbo. It's 190 horsepower, 28 mile per gallon city, 32 highway, 30,745. Not bad, not bad for a car that's got some pep. It's got some utility. As a former compact SUV owner, I think they're good for pets, for example, because you can just push the seats down and they got a lot of room, headroom, and all that. Don't really got to worry. Crank up the AC and you're happy, right? But no, I think it's a good-looking car. The price point is pretty good, especially when you consider what else it competes against, and those are more expensive. And much like the Kia, you get the 100,000-mile warranty, and I think that should give some of these Gen Z buyers the reassurance that they need to keep on going and keep on motoring, because that's what we want people to do. And so, yeah, those two, Kia Forte GT, Hyundai Kona N-Line S. I hate these designations, by the way, like Kia GT, perfect. This N-Line S, come on, man.
Right? N-Line S Type R version 32.
Yeah, EX plus Alpha. Yeah.
E to the I pi minus 1 equals 0. I got the Hyundai Kona here, the little building thing. I think that's what they call it. On my other tab, that doesn't look bad.
No,
I would not shoot myself if I were caught dead in this. Like I'd be okay with that, and it does come in all-wheel drive,
Yeah.
which is handy for 95% of the country.
Hey, if you live in the Pacific Northwest like I used to,
Oh my god.
my family, we're an all-wheel drive family. I'll just say that.
Yeah. When I moved to Idaho, I never saw so many Subarus in my life.
Now, I have to mention one that I got to give an honorary mention to, and I think you'll agree with me because we have sung this car's praises.
Okay.
It's the only used car on my list, but it's the 2008 Lexus ISF,
Fuck yeah.
a car you and I
Absolutely.
got to flog on the
Yep.
racetrack, and
Fontana Fontucky Speedway.
yeah. Now the 2008. Now, but again, it's a Lexus, so it does
Yeah.
retain its value. But
Yes.
where else can you for 27,000? 27,000, where else can you get 416 horsepower? Okay.
Uh-huh.
In a reliable engine
Comforts.
and comfort.
Yes.
And it's reliable. Like
And
if
you
you
have
look,
the little supercharger whine.
yeah, like if you got this thing used and it's got like 120,000 miles on it, you'd be like, it doesn't matter, right? It's like that fucking Greenland shark that's like 400 fucking years old. And what? It's still
Yeah.
alive. It's still alive and it's still going to eat you. So I got to give that car some love because there aren't a whole lot of cars that like, we would have wanted when we were younger, like the Supras, RX-7s. We'd still want them, but we both know if we got them, we'd have to do an engine rebuild and all this stuff because you can't run off the original engine. With this sucker, you absolutely can. And it's 2008. So okay, it's not going to have the backup camera. It's not going to have it might have Bluetooth. I'm not really sure. But these are all things you could add, man, if you really wanted it. But in truth, who cares? You don't
exactly. There's no backup camera. Turn your fucking head.
Yeah, I mean, the truth of the matter is, it was. I think you and I both agree that like it had that raw power and handling, and it had enough luxury, but it wasn't cushy like what Lexus are known for now. And so I think for that reason, man, it's a hell of a buy if you can get it. Now, okay, can it keep pace with the new RCF ISF? No, it cannot. Okay, the new ones are faster, got more power, but if you want something that is just one of the few Lexus cars that just gives you that raw, visceral experience, and granted, okay, it doesn't come with a stick. However, notwithstanding, I didn't have a problem with the transmission. It shifted fine, everything like that. It's just a good purchase. Car looks good. It still looks good, right? Especially if you get it in one of those like more limited colors. Like I'm not a big fan of blue, but the car looks good in blue.
Yeah, that deep blue that they had at the racetrack.
Yeah.
I still can't get that thing out of my head.
Whew. I mean, like that. Yeah, that was a great car for its time. I think it's a timeless model, and Lexus. You know what? For all the shit they get for having boring cars, they knocked it out of the park with that one. So yeah, that's my one used car. That's my honorable mention on the entry level list. So our next category is 50 grand and under. So what do you got? What do you got for us?
What you got there, little man? All right, so sub 50. This is a personal one for me, and I'm gonna piss off a lot of people, and I don't give a shit because I don't need your approval. I'm gonna go with the Toyota Tacoma, and for one thing, it's because I have one.
Both my brothers would agree with you. They both had Tacomas.
And there you go. But it's also extremely personal for me because I spent 20 years wanting a Tacoma, and every time I would go to a Toyota dealership to get one, I would always get the most like dickbag, useless salesman to ever get pulled out of the mold. It's just like every stereotype you can imagine, just chatty, prying, overly personal, no sense of personal space. slick back sperm perm, like this, every stupid fucking quality you could assign to a
Wait, but hold
salesman.
on.
I see to get.
Did you get was it Bill Paxton's character from True Lies?
Yeah, 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 absolutely, man. I expect him to say, "Oh, the taco makes some Rocco." Like, shut the fuck up. Like, do you want my money or not? It was to the point, like the last time I went to a Toyota dealership before I got this one, I was still living in Vegas, and like the sales manager actually tried to hijack me from his own salesman, and I even told him, I was like, I'm not looking to make a move before December. Why? Because I'm the fucking customer, and that's what I said. And I explained this like 3 times, and I finally said, like, look, do you want your man to get the sale, or do you want this place to end up on the news? Like, I'm at my wit's end, and I'm about to do something, dramatic. It's just like, sir, what do you do? I was like, what the fuck? Fuck you is what I do. I buy cars that you can't afford in cash. Eat a bag of dicks. So finally, in my goddamn mid-40s, I finally get to have the truck that I wanted when I was 21, and I love it. So why the Tacoma? First and foremost, because it's fucking awesome, and because after 2 decades plus of waiting, it was worth the wait, and I'm super happy that I got the goddamn thing. But I mean, look, here's the thing. The show's called Men in Cars, not Men in Trucks or, Men in Off-Road Vehicles. But I'm not stupid enough to think that everybody only wants fast cars. I don't necessarily trust people that don't want fast cars, but I'm willing to accept that they do in fact exist. So there's not going to be a type of car that works for everybody. And some people like going off road. I lived in Nevada. I love going off road because, like, 99, everything in that state except for Reno, Carson City, and Vegas is just this desert wasteland where nobody gives a shit what you do. You want to go. You want to go out with a machine gun and a couple beer kegs. There's a place for you. It's awesome, and I like off roading, and this is a pretty capable vehicle to do that. It's honestly not as off road capable out of the box as my former car, which was a Subaru Outback in wilderness trim, but the Taco is a hell of a lot cheaper.
Wow.
And the fact is, I made a point of previously about electric vehicles being infinitely customizable. The Taco, pretty customizable no matter what you want, all the way up to what they call the Trail Hunter, which is honestly not bad. Like if I felt like dropping almost $70,000 on a compact pickup, I probably would have gotten that. But there's a Taco for every taste, and I love the fact that it's not refined. Like don't get me wrong, it has good build quality. It has good fit and finish. You're not going to see exposed wires peeking out through the seams of your dashboard or anything. It's not a Ferrari. But I love the fact that you look at it and there's like gaps between the body panels. It's like somebody in Toyota's design department, took a bunch of shrooms and like binge watched Transformers and Terminator, and then just went to the little CAD program and started sketching up. Like it looks like a Japanese interpretation of what an American pre-apocalyptic truck would look like, at least the 2024 model.
Yeah.
And I kind of dig that. I think that has its own charm. My other pick for this price bracket is actually the BMW 230i Coupe, if you're British. Why not the M2? Well, okay, because, prices. All right, like, unlike you with the entry level, I actually took the hard cap as a hard constraint, not a suggestion. Oh, 30,000, yeah, fuck it. So, I look, the 230 is all right, okay? You got 255 horsepower, you got decent miles per gallon, 30 combined, 26 city, 35 highway, 30 combined. I figure at this price point, you're still probably worrying about gas mileage. You do have the inline six. Now, you, Brian, mentioned something about specific inline sixes to get or not get.
Yes.
I'll leave that to your expertise. I don't know if this is one of the naughty ones. But also, if you're looking to spend uh, up to 50K on a car, again, I'm making assumptions about you, the buyer. You probably want something to show for your effort, right? You're probably not in an entry level job. You're probably not a 21-year-old. Maybe you are. I don't know. I don't care. But the point is, the people who have spent, this is probably the early to mid 30s salaryman car. Like, you want something to show for your effort, even if it's things like, stuff that no one's ever going to notice or see, like moonroof, the heated seats, the adaptive LED. BMW actually have a really cool heads up display
Yes.
that I first saw on my mom's X3 that I think is fucking awesome. It makes you feel like a fighter pilot. And, I drive around. She's like, who the hell's Goose? Who are you talking to? But something like this, like it has enough performance to get the blood going a little bit. If people think, well, 255 horsepower is not enough, like, okay, well, unless you're a race car driver, 255 is more than enough to kill yourself with, right? But I think it's a nice balance between beauty and beast, and it's a good way of enjoying the drive, and you're still letting yourself know, like, I worked for this. I'm having a good time in this car because I sacrificed whatever. Because I spent years working late nights and coming on the weekends. Because I prioritized my career ahead of, blowing my money at the bar. Like, if you're making sacrifices to better yourself, you need to be able to appreciate what you've accomplished. And I think this is a pretty good car to do that.
No, I think you're 100% right, and I think people should take a lesson from something you said about you work hard, and yeah, you get validation if you're good at your job because you get promotions or whatever, right? Okay, plus you get a paycheck, but there at some point you got to do something for yourself, and the reality is, especially if you live in California, you spend a lot of fucking time in your car. And I've often told people
doing 5 miles an hour on the highway.
Exactly.
250 horsepower is more than enough.
Absolutely. And so for people in California, I would say it's really important because, man, if you're going to spend like 2 hours a day in traffic, but you're in a car that you absolutely hate, and this is coming from someone who I talked about my Galant on my shit list of cars.
Oh my God.
The problem is it told me, Brian, that's what you're worth right there. You work hard and then you fall in hard times and you got to just settle for this thing, right? It's like, damn, because now it tells me, what else am I going to settle for in life? You know what I mean? And that's a bad place to be in. And again, this only applies to car people. I realize there are people who are like, whatever car you get is just to get you places. You don't give a shit. So, but again, why would those people be watching us?
Exactly.
So yeah, I think
it's okay to view a car as a utilitarian tool. That's absolutely fine. All the little mommy murder shows are that way to the left.
Yeah.
Go listen to them.
Exactly. So I'm with you on that, and I mean that's the logic. It goes into my first pick, which is a Ford Mustang GT. Never been a Mustang guy.
I didn't pick that fucking car, and you snicked it from me.
Hey, I didn't snake it from you. I didn't pick the Shelby, But
Shelby ain't under 50.
No, it ain't under 50.
Sure.
It ain't under 50.
It's close to 70 if you can get one.
Yeah. No. So this one, I think it's good because I think when I see someone with a Mustang, I gotta admit I have a little more respect for them than the ones with like when they get like like the Camaro, the Challenger, because with those cars I don't see the same level of innovation. I mean, they're literally the same, like it's the same car from when fucking Bumblebee was in Transformers and all that. Whereas the Mustang, they've made changes to it, changes for the better. I think they look sleek. I've thought when they first did that retro kind of thing in like 2000 something. I thought it looked good then, and then they progressed it. And it looks good, and it's smaller, it's nimbler, and you don't feel cheap in it. I mean, especially if you get the decked out versions, they're pretty nice, right? So, and they have the name because unlike Camaro and Challengers, the Mustangs never went away. Now, some of us wish they went away in the '80s when they were on the Fox platform.
Mustang 2.
Mustang
The
2.
time you didn't want to buy a Monday car or a Friday car.
Or there was always like an inside joke with my brother and I is he had a '81 Mustang, and we'll leave a picture right here. Um, truly one of the shittiest cars ever. he took his driver's test in that when it was raining, and it was a miracle because that's why I knew he was going to be a great driver, by the way, and he's a much better driver than me. I was like, fact that he passed his thing with like a perfect score on a rainy day and that piece of shit. So that was really impressive. And yeah, and so but my point being that Ford, the name never went away. Whereas the others, they went away, then they came back. So whereas this is the dad that stuck around to raise the kids, right? Versus like the Challenger went out for cigarettes for like 30 years and came back, right? And so
came back when the kid got drafted into the league.
Yeah, it's the Charles Barkley's dad of all cars. Oh man. But yeah, so I think it goes with your logic about like you gotta reward yourself. And I think that car rewards the driver. As long as you appreciate it for what it is. Unlike those memes of those kids wrapping it around like a telephone pole because they think it's a drift car and stuff. It's like,
God.
Look,
I mean, anything's a drift car once.
Yeah. I mean,
I like the Mustang, by the way. I didn't have the GT. I had the Ecotec, but it was a 2015, 300 horsepower, 30 miles a gallon, 6-speed.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna be a spec sheet engineer and tell me that was a subpar car just because it's not the GT, like yeah, but I also got more than 10 miles a gallon, so fuck off.
Right.
Mustang's a hell of a fun car to drive. I do not recommend that in the snow. I learned that firsthand.
You do bring up a good point. I have to point out to the listeners though, fuel economy was dog shit. It was 1423. Even my Evo got better fuel economy than that. So yeah, so it's not great. But my next pick though surprisingly gets decent fuel economy considering the size and everything. And that is the Lexus RX 350. Now, again, I'm picking another SUV because I want to have diversity in the different models that we cover. You know, I'm all about DEI. So I don't know anyone who owns a Lexus RX that complains about it. Now, they're not going to be overly praising it either because it's not exciting. I mean, power wise, it's 275. That's with the field. That goes with the field, right? But it undercuts a lot of its competitors, and it gets 22 city, 29 highway. Not bad for a midsize SUV. And so I think, and the engine. Look, I had an ES 350. Never had a problem with the engine. It's competent. It gives you good straight line lane changing power, and no complaints. Responsive. It's all good. And so this one, again, maybe more for women or maybe dudes who are have a family or whatever. No complaints about it. You could take a trip, the old California to Vegas 3-hour drive in that thing. You'll be good. Nobody's gonna complain. It's not sporty.
No one's gonna enjoy it either.
Yeah, it's gonna be just we're there already. It's gonna be nice. You're gonna fall asleep and everything. Hopefully not when you're driving, which you just might. And so yeah, and Lexus interiors, I always like them. They're not sporty, but they definitely feel premium. So that's for those reasons I'm giving Lexus my nod of approval for the sub 50, and it comes in slightly under 50, $48,600. So not too shabby.
Yeah, I mean, I like the current gen RX a lot more than was not just. I think it was a previous gen. Lexus had that like ice pick fascia, like everything was like this. And it looked like the car got uppercut by Mike Tyson, got like his jaw dislocated.
There's still a little bit of that.
There's a little bit of it, but it's a lot more plainer.
Well, first of all,
I dig that.
Well, first of all, Mike Tyson's not going to uppercut anybody anymore. He's known more for just taking a dive now. So, and it hurts me to say that. It hurts me to say that.
I'm pretty sure Tyson now is closer to Tyson in his prime than we'll ever be to him.
He is, but he broke my heart, man. He broke my heart.
That fight pissed me off.
That fight was that was fake. That fight was faker than a $3 bill, man. So no. I'm just glad. I'm glad I didn't pay for it, but yeah.
Well, you kind of did because if you're paying for Netflix,
I do. I did not. I get Netflix through T-Mobile for like nothing. So.
Oh, okay. Well, you get what you paid for then.
Exactly. It's exactly what he gave Jake Paul. A whole lot of nothing in that fight.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
So
please don't sue us.
Man,
fuck it. So you can't get blood from a stone. I don't give a shit.
He just made $10 million for doing Jack Diddley squat, so I think he's good on money for the time being. So, speaking of money, now
getting the money.
Now we're moving. You know, we're moving on up to the side.
Finally got a piece of that pie.
100
for those of you who do not understand, please take a community college course in ancient television shows and watch The Jeffersons.
Exactly.
100 beans, huh?
Yes. 100K.
All right,
what do you got?
All right, so I'm going to start with the honorable mention first, which is not how honorable mentions work, but it's my time. I don't give a shit. My honorable mention is the BMW M4 Competition Coupe. Again, the legendary straight six, unless it's one of the naughty generations that you say to avoid. Touch over, 520 horsepower. Still not a goddamn manual. I guess it's the ultimate driving machine if you only have one foot. So that kind of pisses me off, and that's one of the reasons why it's an honorable mention instead of a pick. It does have some really kick-ass options, like the carbon package. If you're into carbon fiber, you're going to love that. If you're not into carbon fiber, Bryan is a very competent therapist. He can help you figure out what the fuck is wrong with you. But for this price point, I kind of feel like you need something a little more. Like, if you're a car guy or gal, you're not going to have any trouble, telling a 4 Series apart from an M4. Like, it's literally written in the badge. But maybe some people can't read. I don't know. But I just feel like at this point, you really need to do something that sets yourself apart, not only from your would-be compatriots and colleagues, but also that sets your car apart from the normal cars that you would find on the road. Which is why my first pick for this category is actually the Porsche. Yes, it is 2 syllables. Go on their YouTube channel and fucking listen to it. The Porsche 718 Cayman S. On paper, may not seem that clever. It's 350 horsepower, 177 mile an hour top speed. Now, here's where it gets interesting. That top speed is only 2 miles an hour slower than the Cayman GTS 4.0, which is the next tier up, but it's also $15K cheaper. And the thing with Porsche is you can customize the ever-living shit out of these cars. Like, if you don't believe me, go on their site, pick a car, but pick the 911, actually, which is has the most of this flexibility, and start seeing how many options are available. And it's like, well, do you want the wood trim? Okay, what do you want, oak or walnut or cherry? Do you want the brushed metal trim? Do you want steel or aluminium? Do you want a matte finish? Do you want a gloss finish? Do you want the carbon package? Like, which part of the car do you want carbon? But
does the shift knob come in cornflower blue?
Probably. You can have your own color. Either specify the RGB or the Pantone code, or I think you can convert from the federal standard color codes to it. But like you have all these options that are truly fantastic. Uh, at this price point, I think that you deserve to feel like the car is truly yours. You're probably not buying a car it's just like, well, I just need something to schlep the kids around, and I'll probably sell in a couple of years. Like, no, if you're dropping six figures on a car, by the way, the median household income in this country is just over 80K. So if you're dropping more than the median household makes per year on a vehicle, you need something that sets itself apart. That's one of the reasons why the M4 didn't make it, aside from the fact that it's not in stick. Uh, the customization on the Porsche from the dealer is fantastic. And also, oh my god, you can get this in a fucking manual with the Sport Chrono package, have the little analog clock on center panel, and that I just get the feeling if you're dropping six figures on a car and you're dropping six figures on a sports car, you need a manual transmission. Yes, I understand that the panels are faster. Yes, I understand that the professional race car drivers no longer, for the most part, some series still do. Most of the time, they're just using the trigger switches. I get it. That's fine. But you know what? I'm not a professional driver, and you probably aren't either. So for me, I'm going to argue that, the driving has to be a much more phenomenological experience. That's my 10-cent word for the evening. So you really need something that is unique. So the infinite customization notwithstanding, it is also the only car on our list so far that's mid-engine. So there you go. You just statistically, you don't see that many mid-engine cars on the road. Like another reason to have something be truly yours.
Now, I have to intervene for a second for
boy.
For our younger listeners. When Willie says mid-engine, it's middle of the engine, not like a so-so engine.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. When you go on Instagram and you see these Gen Z losers referring to Margot Robbie as mid, that's not what I'm talking about.
I would. Anyone who says that Margot Robbie is mid is someone I want to kick in the nads.
If one of the Hemsworth brothers said that, I'd be like, you're still fucking wrong, but you're like a beautiful man, so I get it. I'll let it slide. Some jabroni on the internet says that I want to reach into my screen and fucking punch them through my connection for being stupid.
Hey, if I could have any superpower, it would be to be able to punch someone through their computer monitor or their phone. So yeah.
Do you know how quickly people would be polite online?
Oh man, no, hell, I would be like, I'd be like Jotaro in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, like, oh my god, man,
the world lost.
Exactly. Oh man.
My second choice is actually another Lexus, but I'm going to go with the RCF. And the reason for that is for the same reason that you mentioned the ISF earlier. Like this is the perfect balance of beauty and beast. All right, it's a 5-liter V8, which V8s are a dying breed. Okay, even the GX Lexus GX, the current gen is a V6. The previous one was the last of the V8s. Right, so we're in this Mad Max era of the last of the big V8s. You got to get these things while they're still available. Is it sporty? Yes. Is it fast? Obviously. But things like a V8, if you've never driven a V8 before, especially an uncorked V8, there is kind of a sound and fury that goes along with it. And you'll be doing 30 miles an hour, and your plane sounds like a World War II fighter, strafing a German bunker. It's a hell of a good symphony. And honestly, this is going to sound stupid. I don't give a shit. Lexus actually have a lot of accessories from a company called Kurgo for your puppy. Because just because you're dropping six figures on a car does not mean that you need to leave her over at home. Okay, I've been a proponent for decades of the argument that cars only need to have two seats, one for the driver and one for your dog. That's it. You don't need any other passengers. So the fact that Lexus are going, yes, Subaru have a lot of puppy accessories as well, but the fact that Lexus are going this deep with a partnership with Kurgo, it to me is worth it. If I'm going to drop 94K on a car, I want the puppy coming with me.
Yeah. No, it's true. And I mean, I think this young generation would agree with you, considering they literally like pick their homes based on how pet worthy it is. So it stands to
Really?
reason. Yeah, stands
I
to
didn't know
reason
that.
that they would do the same for their cars. So yeah.
Today I learned.
I gotta say, we're definitely giving a lot of love to Lexus, because my first one in this category is the Lexus LC500. Now,
Hmm.
there's some similar overlap to your choice with RSF in that, is it quick? Yes. But my only knock on the car is, and this is where it stops, is it fast? Yes. But is it as fast as you would expect for a car that comes in at pretty much exactly $100,000?
Mm-hmm.
No, it is not.
Mm.
It is not faster than a comparable Porsche. It's not faster than a comparable Benz, Beamer. But what it is a supremely luxurious driving experience. It's as good a Grand Tour as you're gonna get, but it's also very, very aesthetically pleasing. This is one of the more beautiful cars, and it's largely been unchanged in terms of the aesthetic since like 2015 or something like that, 2016, 2017. But it doesn't need to. It does not need to. It's a beautiful car. In fact, the things that have changed in it are things that nobody would complain about. Lexus fit and finish was already pretty good, but now the interior is even nicer. It's got more Alcantara, where there might have been plastic before. But in fairness, Lexus plastic ain't like freaking Mitsubishi plastic. Okay, it's
It's
the
not like Vegas happy hour plastic.
yeah, it's a little bit different. And so, beautiful car. Would not recommend it for people with bad knees. Not good. It is pretty low to the ground. So, yeah, if you've got arthritis and all, if you got like Bruce Wayne's knees from The Dark Knight Rises, there's no cartilage left. Probably not a good idea. But
Hey, I have those knees.
so that's the
I'll
thing.
stick with my truck.
So that's the thing. There is no cartilage in your knees. But yeah, but a good looking car. Again, the interior, for people who haven't looked, exterior is nice. Interior is also beautiful, right? So for viewers who haven't had a chance, look it up. So you'll see what I'm talking about. That's a head turning car. And again, like, is it gonna win races and all that? No. I want to say 0 to 60 is like 4.4, I think, something like that, which is way faster.
That's not bad.
Which is way faster than like most cars. Let's be real about that. It's just that when you run it against the 100,000 mark, that's where it falls short in terms of like again, if you're comparing it against the fields. But if you're not a guy that's like trying to win races and trying to race for pinks, you're okay. As long as you're not some chingadera tuner racing for pinks, you're okay. Now,
it's not Hector.
Now, my next one, on the other hand, is super, super fucking fast. It is the Mercedes AMG E53. Now, it's the E53 because I had to keep it under 100. And so this one comes in about 93, 94,000. So 604 horsepower. Okay. Hybrid engine. So it's combined 59 miles per gallon combined with
That's not bad.
42 just electric. So this is another one where, look, I used to own an E-Class, obviously not this generation. It was as a prior generation. E-Classes, you're never going to be hurting for legroom. You're never going to be hurting for comfort. It's considered midsize, but I've never had an issue with it. I think you've ridden in my old E-Class. Everything's been fine. Even if you're in the rear, plenty of legroom. And so the E-Class for Mercedes is like what the equivalent of the BMW 5 Series, right? It's like kind of the flag. it's kind of the flagship, the one that sells a lot, but it's the one that the company's gonna be judged by, right? Because there are like the G wagons, and then like BMW have like the M8 and all that, but that's not what they're judged by. They're generally judged by the mid-size sedan because that's what's most popular to the average person who's gonna buy that, right? Buy like a sedan, not an SUV. They usually go for the mid-size ones, and this one's a good one. The interior looks really futuristic. It looks really, really nice. And I don't know. I generally like Mercedes interface, the infotainment, and all that. I got no problem with it. Some people don't like it. I think that's kind of weird. It's not that complicated. Ergonomics are really, really good, and this one is it's no different. I think it's a good looking car. Yeah, they've taken the hybrid approach, but it's like we talk about, like they didn't go all full electric or anything like that. They did it in a similar way with Lexus, where it's done in a way that it's agreeable. Most people aren't going to be affected. In fact, hybrids are a good choice for the average American. So for those reasons, I gotta go with the Mercedes AMG. It's a good looking car. It's a functional car. Is it the most head turning car like the LC 500? No, but this is what you would get if you're like, if you got that promotion, you are like a director somewhere, a C-suite. It's good, and you get performance, you get really good fuel economy, and you get the look. It definitely looks the part. You're not a pretender, you're a contender. So
Yeah,
I got to go with that one.
and honestly, the E-Class, especially in like a good black. I don't know if they have the matte graphite. I think Mercedes call that. Like that's just a good looking car. It reminds me like the old 90s. Jesus Christ, time is a bitch. The one of the former generation, I forget the chassis code, but it was the BMW 540 sedan, big V8, 6-speed. It was just like this low slung, like night attack submarine looking thing. It's a sharp looking car, man. It's a good points.
Was that, refresh my memory, but wasn't that what Pierce Brosnan drove in GoldenEye? Was it a 5 Series?
I think so. God, I haven't seen that movie since it was in theaters. I'm sure if we make a stance, if we take a stance and say yes, and we're wrong, that somebody on the interwebs will angrily DM us and tell us how stupid we are. I could Google it, but I don't want to. I don't want to.
I don't want to. No, okay. So the first movie, I guess it was the Z8. Later it was the 750. So
back when BMW made V12s, huh?
They went big on that one, but
yeah seriously.
So now we move to the realm of make believe, since we're no longer in the realm. We're no longer in the realm of normal people. We're in the aspirational realm of like cars that probably are appearing on some kid's calendar at a Scholastic book sale right now, if they even still have those.
I think they should. I mean, no, I know they should. I don't know if they do, but they absolutely should.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if they did, that would give me hope. That means kids still read books. But
yeah.
So our next section,
fantasize about cars.
Yeah. So the next section is aspirational. So this is anything above 150,000. So I think that's a fair amount.
It's an arbitrary price point, to be honest. Like I went to fucking town.
Well, once people see the cars we picked, I think they'll probably agree. We definitely went aspirational.
Yeah, I mean, one of them I don't even think is a fucking road car. So my first pick is a Rodan F-Zero. I do not mean the Super Nintendo game, but this thing looks like it would fit right in. And there's actually a 15 or 20 minute YouTube video, Top Gear, or the show that calls itself Top Gear, but really isn't, because it doesn't have the Holy Trinity as hosts, interviewed the guy who made this thing. So imagine a I would say better than Formula One car for the street. Have zero restrictions, zero limits, zero level of sanity. And this car is built in New Zealand, and the CEO is like this 70-year-old guy who looks like he hit fuck it 20 years ago. Like, just, he seems super cool, just does not give a shit. And he built this Batmobile monstrosity. It is a 1,500 horsepower, single seat, bi-turbo V10. I got the link in our notes. Put it somewhere down in the things. Do that technology stuff, millennial. It's a direct injection fuel system that works at 200 bar, which is 2,900 psi. Most cars, you're looking at 40 to 50 psi. Depending on where you're listening to this, if you're in LA by the beach and you walk out, the pressure around you that you're feeling at sea level on a 59-degree day is 14.7 psi. So this is like many times higher pressure than you get even for supercars. Like, everything about this car is absolutely ridiculous. The aero package is 4,000 kilos of downforce. So it's 4 metric tons. And this car weighs 3,000 pounds. So you can literally drive this car upside down forever until you run out of gas and you fall. There's absolutely nothing about this car that's even remotely close to rational. The video I mentioned shows the host. Well, I'll just call him not Hammond. Gets in, and like, he's a skinny dude, right? He's British. He's fairly slender, and he's just like shoehorned in this little fucking carbon fiber casket. The steering wheel is like 8 inches across, and it's got some little dials. No mirrors. You got 4 panels that the 70-year-old Kiwi who doesn't give a shit anymore says they're gonna pipe side feeds onto these because you need to know what the hell's around you. And this thing, probably not everyone's cup of tea, but honestly, I don't give a shit. I love it. And if we're talking price no object, I don't know what one of these things costs. To be honest with you, they actually have a detuned road version, which I think only has 600 something horsepower and only three.
Is that it?
Yeah, and only 3 metric tons of downforce. It's chicken shit. But check it out. I love it. If you think it's ugly, I think you're ugly, and I don't want to be your friend. My other choice, and I think my choices reveal more about myself than any psyche eval ever would. But my second choice is the Ferrari F40. They only made about 1,300 of these from 87 to 92. It's not, on paper, it's not that impressive, right? 2.9 liter bi-turbo V8, just under 480 horsepower. The 80s styling is fantastic. I hate the way modern cars look because I'm just getting to that age where I want to spend my free time in a rocking chair on my front porch, like nursing a shotgun in case, the damn kids get on my lawn. But it's like, even when this car came out, it was a giant middle finger to all of the contemporary design language. It remains as such. I love it. It's not refined. Like, people think, oh my god, Ferrari, but Ferrari do not have a good reputation for build quality, reliability, fit and finish, pretty much anything except performance.
Right.
This is the embodiment of that. Like, you can politely refer to this car as visceral. And here's some things to keep in mind for you youngins out there. Analog brakes were not required in the U.S. until 2012. Traction control was not required in U.S. cars until 2012. Airbags were not required until 1998. So you imagine this car, it's a tube frame chassis. The door panels rattle and squeak. This is like 1950s era hot rod construction technology. The people that drive it, one journalist refers to it as pure terror and mechanically delinquent. Uh, like this car is an absolute widowmaker. The way cars ought to be at a certain performance level. This thing will probably kill you soon as look at you, even if you know what the hell you're doing, which most people who buy it probably don't. So like everything about this car, from the shopping cart handle, rear wing to like the electric shaver profile, I fucking love. It is just so ridiculously 80s. I hope to one day buy one. I pray to God I find a long forgotten sack of cocaine in the glove box, because that would just make everything so much more complete.
You gotta, you gotta rock your white Tony Montana suit with your red dress shirt.
No, I'm gonna rock that Razor Ramon Hawaiian shirt that you got me with like white slacks and some fucking loafers, and that will be the first, last, and only time you ever see me walking out in public with a Hawaiian shirt tucked in, and I'm gonna have like half unbuttoned, get the hamburger meat all hanging out, and I gotta get some gold chains and a toothpick. Like I'm gonna Cuban the fuck out of this, and I can say that because I'm Cuban. It's not racist. Fuck off.
I don't know. You might have offended some white lady out there, man.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. She can wait until 2028. And my honorable mention is almost cartoonishly, stupidly overpowered. And it is the 1992 first gen only Dodge Viper RT10. This is proof that Americans can actually have stupid fun. All right. And cars like this absolutely piss me off, because you see that it can be built. I mean, this is old school tech. It's a push rod V10, 3 valves per cylinder, I think. Like, it was just absolute monstrous beast of a car. Nothing about this car is at all reasonable. Okay, so the V10 was partially designed by Lamborghini, who was actually owned by Chrysler at the time. Right now, Lamborghini are owned by the Germans, and they finally have some reliability. The base MSRP for this thing in 1992 was about 50K, so that's about 114, 115 or so in today money, which means even back then it was relatively quote unquote affordable as far as high performance vehicles go. But if you want to talk about raw driving experiences, remember, airbags, ABS, and traction control are years away from being required. So you have this massive engine and like this itty bitty little cockpit and like 3 feet of ass for a trunk. I think the trunk was like 5 cubic feet, because I still have the brochure somewhere, the original brochure from the 92 model year Viper. So if you ever see the Star Wars Episode 1, first of all, I'm sorry. Second of all, why the hell would you? And third of all, the pod racing scene where it's like 2 giant engines and the kid's just fucking whipsawing around on the back. That's what this car looks like. Okay, there's no roof. It's a rag top. There's no windows. It's vinyl and canvas and zippers. There's no exterior mounted door handle or a key cylinder, so you actually had to like reach in and unlock the door. No AC, but you also don't have a roof or windows, so it's fine. But at least it had an AM/FM stereo with a cassette player, so you wouldn't have to be like a savage. The only things that were adjustable was what you needed to drive. So like the seats, which had lumbar support, which was very, very necessary, and the suspension. Okay, and if you get in the Viper, one of the things I first saw, I never saw a car that before. I never saw a car that did this. All of the gauges face the driver. So you have your main display, and then you have your center panel, and you got some other engine gauges over here somewhere that I don't remember what the hell they were. But like everything is canted in. I think the C7 and C8 Corvettes do the same thing. So if you look over at the passenger side, it's just plain and boring. Like there's absolutely nothing for the passenger to look at, to interact with, to the way it should be. Like this car was designed to
Yeah.
remind the passenger that they are useless ballast. And this is 400 horsepower at under 3,300 pounds. Not world shattering, but it's good enough for 4.2, not to 60, and 0 to 100 in just over 9. And this thing can pull almost a G on the skid on corners on skid pad if you had the balls to even try,
That's
because
the
this
thing.
thing would kill you. This thing would
Because
absolutely murder you.
like, is it true
You
that
couldn't even get in and out because the exhausts were side pipes, right?
and
Like the old 50s hot rods.
and the suspension itself, like the axles, weren't particularly sophisticated, though, right? They weren't
No,
exactly.
no, everything. Yeah, this is another tubular steel frame with resin transfer mold panels, fiberglass. Is the material. Like this thing is as unrefined as it gets. You look at it and like, oh, somebody found an old '67 Cobra and like force fed it fucking steroids and Dorian Yates's leg workout, and like, and this thing was the result. This car was so fucking cool that it literally had a TV show made
Right.
after it. The show sucked, and fun fact, like for those who are not of a certain age group, you don't understand that the early '90s, especially, I mean, I can only speak for California because that was the only place I lived in the early '90s. There was like this pop culture obsession with an end of decade, end of millennium apocalypse that would have been fueled by crime. Like if you just watch the movies and TV show of the
Right.
time, like Predator 2 sucked, set in the far off future of 1997, where like LA is this urban heat jungle and like there's open gang warfare and like Strange Days, and the show Viper, like everything was like, oh, the gangs have taken over Los Angeles, and the cops are outgunned, and like we got to bring in the army or this fucking intercept or whatever the hell they called the car in the show. But it was like typical '90s obsession with like criminal super predators. But as the ultimate slap in the face, and I think it's on I think the show's on Freevee or like one of these 10,000 streaming channels. The ultimate slap in the face, and we're talking about stick shifts. So if you're not familiar with how Hollywood works, you got the villain cars, you got the star cars. Even though they look like the things they look like, they're not actually what they look like, right? So they'll have an engine mule, and like the body's done up to look like the car. Uh, the Viper in the show Viper was not actually a Viper; it was an engine mule with an old V8 thrown in that was made into an automatic because according to TV Guide, anyway, which is another thing that's dating me, according to TV Google at the time, which was called TV Guide, you read and you had paper. The lead for this show, James McCaffrey, allegedly, I don't know if this is true, allegedly could not drive stick. So the engine mule, the mule car that he drove on the show, had the whole drivetrain ripped out and had this V8 5-speed auto shoved in there, and then they added all the engine sound effects in post. But yeah, like that's a car every man should have. Like you couldn't even. This car was so ridiculous you couldn't even get in or out of it without suffering second-degree burns. Because you open the door that's like this fucking big, and like right on the door panel on the backside, it's like caution, hot exhaust, because the pipe went right through it, and you just had like a little thin piece of plastic between your ass and like 800-degree steel.
Yeah.
It's like everything about this car is ridiculous. I want one so fucking bad.
Oh my god. No, you're right. That car. That's another car that during the late '80s, '90s, and all that, it had like for kids anyway. It had this mythical quality to it, where like you never drove one, but you swear you know someone who knows someone who swears they did,
Yeah,
right?
the guy that my brother knew back in the army or some shit.
Yeah. And so yeah, but
Hey, by the
that
way, you can get this. Could have been $100,000 recommendation. I'm on Edmunds right now. You get a '92 for 98 grand, 98K.
oh, there you go. There you go. And then you too can never ever wear shorts while driving that car ever. So yeah. Yeah, why the hell not? But no, those are good picks, and that's a very definition of like an aspirational car because you're going to be limited in quantity too, actually, right? Because for those who haven't crashed it, probably don't want to sell it because
Yeah. By the way, that $98,000 one, Edmund says has 4,000 miles.
holy shit!
Fuck.
Wow.
Yeah. So after we're done with this episode, let's you and me talk about pulling some of our pennies together. I think Daddy needs a sports car.
So my picks are okay. They are pretty gratuitous, all right. But both my picks are you can buy them brand new. So my first pick, as you well know, I'm a big fan of Aston Martin. I think they're beautiful, beautiful road going cars. Arguably, some of the most beautiful, still having classic lines to them. So my pick would be the Aston Martin DB12, but it does not stop there because why get a car for about 280, 300 when you could just get it as a special edition for 400,000? I, of course, am referring to the Goldfinger edition. And it's exactly what you think it is. It's all golded out, more than a rapper's grill, okay? It's got gold accents everywhere. It's this golden god. It's the same fucking car as a DB12. There's not even 1 horsepower more. It doesn't need it. It's 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 another way of not just having fuck you money and letting the world know that, but knowing I completely overpaid for a car that the downline version would have been overpaying for. It just literally saying I had $180,000 extra, not what I was going to spend on the car, but extra. And I thought, how am I gonna waste this money? I could donate it to Palisades victims. I could donate it to the Starving Children's Fund. Nah, I'm gonna fucking just get it all golded out and just my tribute to James Bond. That's what I'm gonna do. And I was like,
Is this the one that comes with the Bond experience package for delivery, or is that a separate one?
I'm pretty sure if they could, they would get what's that actor Desmond Llewellyn, the guy that played Q. They would have him deliver it, but unfortunately he passed. So maybe they'll get the young guy. But like, it's just one of those. It's so gratuitous, and it's one of those petty things that, like, let's say your worst enemy owned an Aston DB12. This is the kind of shit I would do. I would literally get the same car but overpay for this package just to say, "Oh, you got one of the regular ones. I think my little nephew's got one just like it." I would.
Oh my god!
I would be that petty. Anyone who knows me knows that I am very petty. I'm like Richard Petty, okay, minus his driving skills. But like seriously, it's such a like if you look up the picture of it, it's almost like they had to dim the lighting, or else it'd be like when Gandalf the White, appeared. You're like, I can't see, It would be like that. It's so fucking shiny. It's so ridiculous. But God, look at it. It's a beautiful car, isn't it? And you know what? For anyone who gives a shit, I'll read the stats. 671 horsepower, 15 miles per gallon city, 22 highway. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. It's fast, but is it faster than a Lambo or Ferrari? Nope. Absolutely not. Is it? But in that edition, is it just as head turning? Goddamn right it is. And so, yeah, aspirational cars, they don't get more beautiful. And again, you want to have a car that's just going to be super, super fast. Go buy a Ferrari, go buy a McLaren, go buy a Porsche. you're gonna win races, but you want a car that's just petty and tells the world that you had a ton of money extra to spend on a car and you just went ahead and did it instead of like donating it or I don't know, like investing it, something being responsible, putting it in your portfolio. Nope, you're like, nope, I'm gonna spend the extra 180 just so that I can look down and laugh at other Aston Martin owners. So right up my alley, fits my psychological profile. You mentioned how cars reveal a little bit about a personality.
Yeah, a little bit, huh?
Yeah, a little bit, man. A little bit. That's totally me, man. And then the second
But
car.
see, here's the thing. So I just gotta say, I never understood your obsession with Astons. I mean, I love the old school DB5, and I love that whatever the hell that one was. And
there is a James Bond version of that too, by the way.
Oh, of course there is.
Of course.
Whatever the hell that one, it was a baby Aston with the big V12. It was the season 13 finale of the real Top Gear, where it just had Clarkson doing this drive through the country. I think they had like Brian Eno, playing on the soundtrack. Like if you're a dude and you like cars, like this is one of the few times in your life that you are permitted and encouraged to just cry your fucking eyes out. It was just a beautiful piece of filmmaking. But I never understood it until I want to say it was like 2021. I think it was 21. I was in Miami at a rather posh establishment, and some guy I thought was a dickhead turned out actually later nice guy, very sad, whatever. He rolled up in one, and the fucking valet bring this thing in, and I swear to Christ, this thing had like a Merlin engine from an old Spitfire. I have never heard such a raw, disgusting piston symphony coming out of a car that refined in my life. And that's like, all right, maybe Brian's not so stupid with these Astons after all. Maybe he's got some taste.
There's a couple things that I know, and that happens to be one of them. But no, I mean, that is the kind of car that's the equivalent of a sharp guy in a tuxedo. Like something that very, very befitting of James Bond. Now, again, not the fastest, not the flashiest, because again, I feel like it represents this classic beauty that still has like traditional lines and everything, right? Where some cars, like when I think of outlandish design, I always think of the old Ferrari Enzo. Remember that thing? Where like,
oh god, yeah.
There's nothing traditional. It doesn't have classic lines. Hell of a car, but just not a classically beautiful car, right? Very
that thing looked like shit. And I'm sorry, I love Ferraris. They make very beautiful cars for the most part.
For the most part.
But if I'm what was that? That was like 600K back in the day.
I think
something like that.
Yeah.
I remember it was 665 horsepower. But you could look between. There was a seam between like the vent and the rest of the interior structure, and you can actually look through it and see wiring. Like it didn't feel like, if I had $600,000, I wouldn't. I don't know if I would have been happy with that. And an $800 oil change, like I don't know. Maybe I'm not their target demographic anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Let's be real, and you know this. If you're buying a Ferrari, a Ferrari is essentially like it's like those high end travel business cars where you pay like $500 a year. It's not even the card itself. The rates you get aren't even that favorable. It's like the Centurion card. I mean, you only get like what 1% or whatever, but that's not the point. It's what it gets you. It gets you into rooms that normal people can't be in. And I think that's the whole thing with owning a Ferrari is your status bumps up instantly. Again, assuming you can afford one, and you're not some muppet. That's
assuming they sell you one,
yes.
Right? Because that's the thing. Like you can't just walk up and it's like, I want a Ferrari. Like they have to qualify their buyers. Which on the one hand sounds super fucking pretentious. On the other hand, that's just me bitching because I can't afford it. But you're absolutely right. It gets you into a room, and the room that a Ferrari gets you into is usually one where you know that no one else there has ever owned a Lambo. because if you ever owned a Lambo, you're disqualified from buying certainly any of the special editions like the Aptera or the LaFerrari. But I don't know if they'll even sell you the run on the mill cars either. It's like it's things like that. You gotta obviously bring it to their service centers. If you don't drive it right, their little technician will come out and yell at you. It's like stuff like that. It's kind of cool in a way, right? Like,
Right.
am I just making that shit up?
Well, we talked about it on our other podcast, the Abolishing Nonsense podcast, which there'll be a link right here, about cults, right? You want some people want to belong really badly. Now, granted, for cults, it's mostly people who have they spent their years without a personality. Whereas the car thing, totally different. The Ferrari thing, if you've bought a Ferrari, and let's say it's your first Ferrari, you probably worked your way up. You probably owned
Mm-hmm.
some other kind of flashy car, right? But now you're like, I got crazy, fuck you money. I'm gonna, I want to join this club, and that's what it is. And actually, that's why the second car on my list here was the Ferrari F8 Tributo. Now, granted, I'm gonna admit I don't know as much about Italian cars. I think I mentioned that in a prior podcast as you do, but it's a good looking car, 711 horsepower, a really impressive 15 miles per gallon city and 19 highway.
Oh my god, that's actually what my truck gets.
So it's
slightly better styling.
It's appropriate that it's got a 711 horsepower because with that fuel economy, that one full tank will get you to a 711 and back, and that's about it. $280,000. So it's a little bit up there. Not the most expensive Ferrari, but definitely not the cheapest.
Incredible value.
Yeah, well, compared to a gold Aston Martin, yeah.
Well, yeah.
But
it's a sexy little car. This car looks like what the Enzo should have been.
That is a really, really, really good point because does not have classical lines. Does not have classical lines, but it looks good enough to be like you're like, oh, okay, that's a cool car. Versus like half the crowd would be like, yeah, half the crowd would be like, well, that was a waste of money. You see, so yeah, so solid performer. I mean, I think I told you because as I'm working on a novel. And this is like the car that I envisioned the main character having by the end of his run when he's made his money and all that. And so, because I thought this is a slick looking car. It's a good looking car that, I could see young guys aspiring for. Now, I've seen videos of people actually driving them. Admittingly, not the easiest car to drive. Not even the most intuitive car to drive. Like.
Right.
The infotainment system, if you want to call it that, it's like when you got the backup camera, it goes on, but then now it covers like the speedometer, and it's really weird.
Yeah.
But if you're driving a car like that, and your thing is, where's the technology? Where's all the sensors? No, go buy a Lexus for that. Go buy a like a 5 Series BMW E-Class Mercedes, where the car will take care of you. It'll do everything but burp you. But the cars in this price point, people have to understand. Calling them luxury refers to the price, not the technology, the comforts, and all that, right? And so it's like you're paying this much, but you're paying for the driving experience. It's like this.
Yes.
This super high performer and all that. Because again, if you wanted to feel like just relax and kick back, get a 5 Series. It's got the freaking massaging unit in it. You could do something like that. Get a Maybach or something, right? But these are for like you want driving for pole position, basically. This is what it's there for. And so, yeah, I think again, you've mentioned earlier, like, look, the criteria we set at price. And I think we try to be pretty fair with our recommendations in terms of cars that will satisfy a certain demographic. Like that's why there's some SUVs. You picked the Tacoma, but once you're an aspirational, you only
all that
get
shit goes out the window.
Yeah, you don't have cars at this price point that are like slower. I say slower, but like a 7 Series, an S Class, where it's like really premium luxury. But No, they top off at a certain point, and they're not known for their trackability and all that. They're not known for carving corners 0 to 60 times, even though they are very fast.
Yeah.
Cars at this price point, these aspirational ones, they really should be making the driver feel like I'm definitely faster than everybody else on the street. Unless you go into some billionaire car club, then everybody's fast, right? But like,
well, everyone has fast cars. They're not necessarily fast.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, and the majority of these aspirational cars, if we're being 100% honest, they are faster than the skill level for the drivers have. Right?
Oh, God, yeah.
There are some few exceptions, and I've openly stated before, like there are certain cars I've driven where I'm like, I'm below the requirement to top max out this car. You know, like I'll admit, like you are a far better performance driver than I am. I remember when I had the Evo, I just happened to have the fastest car, but I wasn't the fastest driver.
Oh, that car was an absolute monster. Like
it was,
kids these days don't get it.
No, and that car still held on. It's worth more now than what I paid for it. See, so that's crazy to me. But not really. It's a classic. I mean, dude, like my brother was sending me. He saw like an Evo 5, I think, that was imported here and all that, and he's just like, man, I think I might think about trying to get that thing, man. I was like, holy shit, wow. Guess you gotta learn to shift with your left hand, but yeah. he'll just rewatch that Thunderbolt, see what Jackie when he's timing himself.
Oh yeah, that fucking movie's insane.
Yeah. So yeah, man. These aspirational cars, I'd actually be interested to hear what some of our listeners would list as their 2 aspirational cars. I think in some ways, I don't know about you, but the aspirational cars were harder for me to decide than
yes,
because the other ones there was a cap. This has no cap; it could go anywhere. And when I say cap, I mean like a salary cap, not like cap like kids say. Like I'm lying. Yeah, so you know. Hey, I keep up with the Urban Dictionary. I know the lingo. I know what's happening.
Oh my god! You know what's happening?
Man, my mama didn't raise no dummies. I dug your rap. So yeah.
Oh my god. The Children, that was from a movie. One of the best movies ever made.
Exactly. But yeah. I mean I want to know what people would consider to be their aspirational cars, their dream cars. By all means, please add it in the comments. We'd like to hear from you and tell us why too. Even if it's just car go fast, that's fine. Right. I mean, because you know what? Something we didn't. I know you touched on a little bit with like the Viper, but I mean, I think there are probably people where their aspirational car might be like an old Barracuda, an old GTO, where it's the exclusivity is different than the Ferraris, and that every day there's less and less of these. Because I mean, like people might say the Chargers. Well, Hollywood, Dukes of Hazzard in particular, boy, they crashed how many Chargers? Making
all of them?
Making that show, right? So,
I
mean, there's something to that. I mean, yeah, wrenching on an old V8, right? The last of the V8 Interceptors. That is, there's something to that too, and I would be interested to see. Or people want to JDM their cars, for example. They want to get like an old, like I mentioned, like the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 5s, an old A86 Torino, right?
I still have my heart set on a GTO with a 428 Judge.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe I have unresolved fantasies of being Vin Diesel from Triple X, and like GTO is the closest I can get. Certainly not going to grow another half foot anytime soon.
I don't know about that. I think you might actually be taller than Vin Diesel.
Really?
He's not tall. Look, I don't want to give
shoot him from a low angle, so he looks like he's 6'5".
Next time, talk about things you're never ever gonna unsee.
Okay.
Look up pictures of him at every movie premiere, and then scroll down. Look at his shoes. You're never gonna unsee it.
Hold on. I'm gonna do this right now.
And I'm
Vin
gonna,
Diesel movie premiere.
or just shoes. And I'm saying this as someone I met Vin Diesel in real life.
Okay.
At the well, I didn't meet him. You know, I'm sure his bodyguards would have ushered me away. I was at the Guardians of the Galaxy premiere, and let me tell you.
Oh, okay. Wow, this is like the equivalent of the wheel arch flat. I'm never gonna unsee this. Man, fuck you.
So the thing is, I saw him, and he must. I wouldn't be shocked if he fired his publicist for this, but at the end of the premiere, they bring the actors up to the stage, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know who thought it would be a good idea to stand Vin next to big ass Dave Bautista. Okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Dude, that would have been like a dolphin next to a killer whale. Okay. Like, Bautista looked like he's had meals bigger than Vin Diesel. Okay.
Oh my God.
And this was when Bautista was still freaking humongous, right?
Yeah.
Like, he was so fucking jacked. It was fun with him because the whole night I'm looking at Bautista because I'm a big fan of Bautista's, and he's like this the whole night, like, because his suit was so fucking tight and his back was so wide. He looked so uncomfortable. Whole movie experience, he's just like, just working at his collar and everything. And they going up to the stage. That guy he's like 6'3", 6'3", 6'4". He's a big, guy. And poor Vin, man, it's like a gorilla with a rhesus monkey. It was a very they're like, Vin's probably like, you couldn't have put me next to Zoe Saldana or Michael Rooker. They're like 5'5", right? But instead, no, Vin is about our height, just like Jason Statham, another guy that's not very tall.
Yeah, but that dude just has presence.
Yeah.
Like, Jason Statham looks like one of those people that, the screenwriter or the casting director's like, we need, like, generic British badass number 7. And they just, like, fished him out of a bar fight or something. Like, he has this thing about him. Like, he's just one of those guys that you don't want to fuck with. I don't know why.
I will say this, though, about Statham. I can appreciate is when the Transporter movies came out, I think they took the opposite approach. Like Luc Besson and them took the opposite approach as what America was doing in Fast and the Furious. Remember, Fast and the Furious movies were about import car tuning culture, like the young people. Well, back when you and I were young. But the Transporter movies went the other direction, where they went for like the sedans. Like the first movie, he had a BMW
735, I think.
Yeah, was it the second movie they switched to the Audi, right?
Yes.
And so those were like the more gentleman cars. That's what a Transporter would actually drive. Because the first movie, his car had a W12 engine, didn't it? Was it the 12?
I don't know. I know the first movie. Maybe I need to rewatch it.
First or the second? I remember
the 735 wasn't even the 8-banger, so it might have been the second movie.
750L, 750i. First movie, you're right. 735, yeah. And then the Audis was the A8. That might have been A8 was a.
That was the one of the W engines.
That's what it was, yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, he went for the classy look. He had the suit, right? Went in the complete opposite direction. And so that's why I think the ones who appreciated Statham more were the ones who wanted those refined cars.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, some of these things, like, I don't know, maybe we have a discussion about, matching your personality with a car. Like, I love the old 7 Series, especially with the 6-liter V12s. I always wanted to get, I think it was the E46 M3, and somehow shove the V12 in that fucking thing. And then we went to Hot Import Nights, and somebody actually did that. So I was like, so it is possible. All you need is money. But yeah, I can see that. I always liked I still like Jason Statham movies. He was one of the best parts of the Expendables. Uh, he's always he's the kind of guy that I think a lot of guys want to be, and that it's just like this really quiet, really really tense rage.
Yeah,
It's just like the scene of the first Expendables. It like fucks up everybody at the basketball court.
right.
Yeah, and it's the kind of guy that's like, you piss him off. The only reason you're still breathing is because he doesn't want to catch a case. You just take you apart without breaking a sweat. Like you want to talk about aspirational, like that. That's something to aspire to.
Yeah. And you know what? Speaking of movies and all that, tell me what you think. I think for our next episode, why don't we do this? Let's cover iconic movie cars.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
I think that's one that people can relate to.
Just movies or movies and TV shows?
I say movies and TV shows. Go back as far as you want.
I think, not the general league. Let's actually put some effort into this.
I think
I got dibs on Kit, so fuck off.
Because I think that's another one that's gonna be telling of your personality too, like what vehicles.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just the vehicles; it's the character attached to it.
Right? The car is its own character.
Yeah. So let's do that, and yeah, that's I think that's a fun one, and I think it's one that again a lot of people are gonna relate to. But we're not starved for choice. There's a lot of Hollywood, they love putting cars in movies, man. So yeah, I think we should cover that one.
That's a good idea.
And it'd be great for our listeners to see how many they pick and how many of them made it to any of our lists. So
and how many are from Fast and Furious?
Yeah. So I mean, shoot. I mean, you know what? Let's include animated too, because I mean,
all right.
I mean, like the initial D series had a lot of cars that people overlooked.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, let's go with that.
All right. Why not?
Yeah. So we'll do that next time.
Why not?
Yeah. I like your style. Yeah. So.
Yeah, one of them is going to be from Thunderbolt.
Oh. Man, that's like that's another movie that we could. If it was any worse, we could actually quote the Chinese, even though neither of us speak Chinese. We've seen it so many times. We just say the lines phonetically. But yeah.
No, we're actually just saying the characters, not even phonetically.
Yeah.
Oh god, that movie makes me miss having physical media. I still had it on VCD. I may actually still have it. I think I had one ex-girlfriend wanted me to organize, because you remember my DVD tower.
Yeah.
Right. It was like up to my neckline. It was basically all action movies. Mm-hmm. And I think I told her I would throw her off a cliff before I threw that movie out. I know I still have. I actually think I still have my Best Motoring DVDs.
Oh, I got all those though.
Yeah, and my Drift Bible DVD, mm-hmm. which is also Best Motoring, whatever.
Yep.
Initial D. And I'm pretty sure I know I have one movie called 1/6 Right, which if this podcast were Men in Planes, we could talk about that for forever. And I'm pretty sure I still have Thunderbolt. That's just one of those things. That's like Grandpa's Playboy. You don't throw that shit out.
There was there was another one. I don't know if you saw it. It was another Hong Kong movie. Legend of Speed. Did you ever watch that one?
I never watched that. You mentioned it before. I never got to it.
I won't even kid you. I didn't even know that the main cars in that were the Subaru Impreza and the Mitsubishi Evos. But I want to lie. I initially watched it only because Cecilia Chung was in it, and I had a big crush on her. Hell, I still have a crush on her.
It's on Roku.
Oh, is it? There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. I don't have Roku.
I'll admit it wasn't a great movie. It was.
Kelly Lynn as well. All right, I see why you like this.
Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
Ooh. I guess me, Kelly, and Cecilia, and a bottle of lanolin makes 4 tonight. But
Oh
anyway,
my Christ!
but not that aloe vera bullshit. But
Oh
anywho,
Jesus!
but yeah. So I hope viewers are appreciating our movie recommendations too. So yeah,
If
well,
not, get some taste.
yeah. So Willie, good episode, man. Thanks for
Yeah,
picking your choices. You picked some good ones too, man. I was like, because I
I
had
picked
thought
some
about
ridiculous ones.
because that
All of
two
my
series.
choices are fucking insane.
I think that what to me your sleeper pick was that 2 series. So because
Well, yeah, of course.
people who've never sat in a 2 series, because it's a little bit smaller than 3, but but it's gonna be quicker though because it's lighter, you know.
Yeah.
And
Well, the 2 series is what the 3 used to be.
true,
Like that's what pissed me off is Beamer. Well, all cars, but Beamers especially. Much like some of their fans have just gotten a little heavier over time and a little larger than they remember themselves being. But no, it's nice to. I understand it. Like we talked about, Nissan's inability to do anything right. One of those things is branding. Like if you buy a 3 series, you're probably going to want to get another 3 series
right?
when it's time for a new car. If your ass happens to have increased in breadth, then so must the 3 series, or the company risks losing you to another manufacturer. So I get it. At least it's nice for it's nice. It's nice to see Beamer coming in with models to replace what used to be. I would love to see him come back with an M1,
Right.
with like the door that like slides down into the body. Like you want to talk about bad knees? Like fuck that.
Yeah. No, because I didn't realize how compact that car was till I parked my 440 next to one, and then I walked inside. I was going to like a steakhouse, and I walked out, and or I saw it. I was like, "Damn, that is pretty noticeable." But that being said, German compact isn't quite like Japanese compact. You can
Right.
still a man with some shoulders can still get into those. So I
Yeah.
like that pick. That was a really good one, man.
Yeah, I like that one. I don't know if I'd ever I don't know if I'd ever see myself buying one because I really want the M4 or the Cayman or the 911 GT3 to be honest with you. But I think it's a damn fine vehicle.
See, the only reason I can't get behind an M4 is performance is amazing. It's a step above the M4 of my generation.
Yeah,
It's just the kidney grills on that make the car look like those old Japanese caricatures from World War II with the buck-toothed soldiers. I can't get past that. I just aesthetically, it's not pleasing, and,
no,
and I can't. And if you look at the cars I chose, you could tell that I put a premium on good looks, just like everything
yeah,
else in my life. But
no. I
it
hate
just
BMW's design language, and I think it's just getting worse.
the
And the
new
electric
one.
ones that are like just those two massive
That's what I mean.
nostrils. Yeah,
Yeah,
by 2040, the car BMW is just gonna be like barbecue grills on wheels. There's
yeah,
not gonna have room for seats.
yeah. I mean, I have no doubt that maybe the next generation they're going to switch it back. They're going to be more subdued, give it a little more. Because look at the M8 is a beautiful car because it doesn't.
Especially with piano black
Oh,
interior. As long as I don't have to clean it.
yeah, right, exactly. But like somebody did a Photoshop job when the 4 Series first came out, but they took the M or the 8 Series lights and they photoshopped it in. That was a beautiful car.
Was that another foos job?
Yeah, yeah. But it looked good, man. Those grills were subdued, right, and it looked nice. But once again, it just kind of sucks when someone like Chip Foose has to do your job for you and shows the customer what could have been versus what actually was. So
Yeah, man. I wish BMW had hired him instead of Bangle. And his manic Monday melting ice cream design philosophy.
for people who want to get a true taste of what Willie's talking about, just look up the 5 Series of that era, and you'll
Yeah,
see what.
early '90s. I want to say like '02, '03. And well, he started with the 7 Series, and that's the thing. Like the Z4, I think he did the Z4 I didn't hate that car. Like the Z8, I think was a little weird. But that actor from Malcolm in the Middle, I think, had one. But the Z4, I thought was a pretty all right car. It wasn't great, but it was like a refined German middle aged version of the S2000.
Yeah, that's a perfect
Which
description.
yeah, it's fun. I mean, if that's what you want, but like, I think that was a Bengal job, and he also made that one. I forget. I think the name starts with a G or something. It was a concept car with like the flexible skin, and so it didn't have headlights. Like if you turn the lights on, the skin on the front of the car would actually flex upward, and it'd have the bulbs exposed, and they had some cute little publicity stunt where like the car was on the turntable and it winked at you. Like, and I was sitting there like, oh, I want this. Like, please take my money.
Oh Lord. Oh
Yeah,
man.
what the
So
hell was that car? Gina is what it was. The BMW Gina.
it sounds like it was better than the Ferrari Dino.
Yeah, no shit.
Uh, all right, man. Good episode, Willie. Thanks for the list, and I definitely look forward to the next one, man, with the movie cars.
Hell yeah.
Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in, and keep on motoring, folks.